Hello, Glitch Reaper here. I'm actually back for another mod review segment on Ender Utilities. And yeah, I know I'm jumping around locations and versions, but it's actually spanned several, so there's good reason. And another thing, I kind of got inspired for this setup in this area because there was something kind of dangling at the top, and it's something that I'd like to kind of point out here. This will actually make sense as to why I'm going to do something about that. Now, another thing that I found out is that the Ender elevator, if I had one set up, would actually work a little bit differently because the redstone signal, the exact amount matters. So let's see if I can try that one more time, and they don't have to be too terribly aligned, so I should be able to do a quick demonstration of this here. Okay, so I'll put one there, and one, I think it'll be in range. Yeah, it'll be fine. I'll put one up here. Okay, and now I have myself a button that I'm going to use for various things. So that'll be there, but I have to control the redstone output signal here. Because apparently there's actually a bit of a trick, compared with what I thought, for getting it to go up. So let me see here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, that is a practically invisible line because of the texture. But anyhow, let me actually break a couple of these to demonstrate this. Okay. Now, whenever you go from down to up with these pairs, again, this is a little trick that he mentioned to me, you have to have the signal strong, like 9 or above. So, therefore, it teleports like you'd expect. But if you tried that down here, it wouldn't work. That's why I was having trouble before. So I put a button directly here and click it. You can see the redstone activates, but this doesn't move. Now the reason why that is because the signal actually has to be below a certain amount for it to go up, which is kind of interesting. So if I were to reverse that and do this one, the signal should be pretty weak. It has to be like 8 or below to go up. So let me just toss this out there, hope that that's centered enough, and hit this button. Maybe I wasn't quite centered enough. So it does have to be fairly centered, so let me try this again. Okay, that looks pretty centered, so if this doesn't work, I'll move the button closer. Wait, oh, the signal's not going far enough. Or is there one that's missing one? Oh, I get it. That block doesn't conduct very well. Okay, classic redstone physics. Luminous blocks don't work. So, yeah, that's... Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I just trying to do a final demonstration on this to get this finally right, and that one little thing happens. Okay, you see that teleports up here this way? That's because the redstone signal's actual strength was at 8 or less. So that's how you can teleport entities up with the Ender elevator. Finally, I got that one exactly right. That took more than a few takes. Well, kind of. Took more than a few instances of trying. Now, the thing is, I was actually going to demonstrate kinetic blocks, those that are good for moving objects, and I guess the elevator kind of fits in with that, ones that are good for moving around blocks and items and stuff, so I guess it's kind of appropriate I finally got that right on this one. Now, as you can see, there's a couple of things that look like pipes here. They are not exactly pipes, but they behave like pipes. In fact, it even kind of says that on this. Sort of like a pipe, but not really a pipe. It's literally the first thing it says. Well, the thing about it is that these are kind of like pipes. They move an item from one inventory to another. They are kind of strictly like that, though, so they don't have functions like some other pipes. But they do have some that others normally require more resources to do, and that's actually kind of a good thing, is that it kind of is a cheaper alternative. Now, the inserter that's filtered is the one that really has the good functions, but the regular inserter alone actually can be pretty nice. Now, to get your inserters, you'll need, for the non-filtered version, you'll need 6 of the basic interalloy and 3 of any glass, and that gives you 1 each, so that can add up pretty quickly, so remember that. As for the filtered version, you substitute a redstone comparator in the center, so otherwise pretty much the same recipe. Now, as for how they function, it's actually pretty cool. Now, you can actually just click on here, and as you can see in the information, it mentions that you can use these buttons to increase the stack limit. So, if I were to, say, 12, and I were to multiply that out, then it will actually increase how much it takes at a time. Now, this is a delay between operations, so you won't necessarily want to do that. Or maybe you do, because you're trying to time some very particular device. So this can be very handy in a way, because it allows you to very carefully time things in specific devices, etc. On the other hand, for the most part you won't need it, but it is there for if you need it for very special technical reasons. Now, you can also change whether it's constantly on, which is when it says redstone mode is ignored. You can have it operate whenever it's unpowered, meaning as long as it's not getting a signal it's on, kind of like the vanilla hopper. And then you have redstone mode operate when powered, which means it'll only be active whenever there's a signal. Of course, I prefer redstone ignored. But as for how fast it works, well, remember whenever I put that up to, well, let me make sure that I get this for all pipes so it's all matching. Otherwise, this could be a little weird. That's the thing, for every pipe you have to do this. Well, not pipe, inserter. Inserter! It's like a pipe, but not a pipe. It's already set. Oh, and by the way, you can shift-click on these with an empty hand to change what's considered the priority output side. And you just click on any side to make that little thing show up. It'll prioritize on these first, and in terms of output, and that's one way to get logistic support for priority. Now, in this case, this one has a priority. It's doing it here into this chest. Now, you'll notice that it tends to be red whenever there's nothing attached. So, the fact that this is green is just because there's an actual chest that it's hooked up to, and you can see an item I was testing with before. Let me see. This one is needing to go up to 12. So just showing a few things off before I actually fling an item down. Okay, now this one is prioritized because this is an output side, although when it comes down to it, the direction of flow will indicate what it considers priority as well. But absolute priority goes with whatever you determine to be an output side. So remember, you don't need a wrench like some mods do for this. It's just shift-click and it works, so which is very, very convenient. So let's do this. See how fast that's going down? That's because I set it to 12 at a time, which seems like an odd number to put it at whenever Minecraft tends to work in multiples of 16. But it's just good that if you paused, you could see the math about it actually subtracting 12 at once. Now note that it actually went directly into this particular chest. That's because this was prioritizing it. Now if I were to take that off, then it would go to this chest next. So just showing. Boink. And now it goes here. And you can see that I've got a lot of stuff in this chest because I kind of put off a lot of things from a mob battle in here. A lot of things were dropping good prizes, so I had to put it somewhere. Well, let's just put this stuff over here for now. And now let's go to the filtered version, which is where things get very interesting. The filtered version is like that, except you can tell it has an internal inventory. Yeah, that's per inserter. Now, it also allows you to determine whether a filter is set for output or input. You can blacklist or whitelist, and you can also say whether it matches the damage or metadata. Note that this kind of stuff may be going out soon with 1.13, so please take note. I have heard there's going to be some things about how they're handling metadata that's going to be not there anymore. They're doing something different about data tags, so that's going to be a thing. You can also ignore NBT data completely, so like if you've named a name tag, then it'll still move it as if it was the same item, even if you've renamed it, because NBT involves things like naming and things. So I know metadata in BT, this is all kind of the technical code stuff, but various manipulations of an item are very important. Like, for example, a shulker box, all the things attached to it in terms of what's in its internal inventory is considered in BT data. If I were to, say, if I don't have good equipment here to demonstrate damage value, although some of these kind of use the damage meter on something. But anyhow, normally whenever a tool's partially broke, like, okay, the pickaxe showing there, then that's your damage and darn lips, metadata. So, yeah. Now, the filter has the same functions. Like, you can change the stack limit, you can change delay if you need to. Also note there's a very tiny amount of buffer even in the first one, so if I throw that there, it'll go over here. So it has a little buffer, and that's for just a brief moment. But for the most part, this is the big one. And if it doesn't know where to put it, it will put it in its internal smallest buffer. This is mainly for filtering. If it also doesn't know where to put something, it will try actually. It may theoretically shove it around otherwise, but the main thing is it'll put it in its internal buffer if it has nowhere else to go. But basically you will be programming it as to where it's putting things. And this is pretty simple. Like, for example, here we have a shulker box. Now, I've kind of inverted between these. And in this case, I'm showing you can take your shulker box that you may have already filled with stuff and just shove it down next to these. Like, let's say you're using this as a dump pipe. Well, you put down your shulker box after you've gone through your adventures, and then you just shove it down here and let the system sort it out, because it'll just take what it can get. Well, that's more important over here with the filtered version. But also note that there's certain rules about this. A regular chest works for pretty much anything, but a shulker box has a little problem. You can't put a shulker box in a shulker box in vanilla. Not directly, anyhow. You can put a shulker box in your ender chest system and have shulker box and have your ender chest system in a shulker box by having an ender chest in there. So you can kind of trick the system, and I demonstrated that once in a video, that you can actually have a shulker box that has an ender chest and a silk touch pickaxe, and then inside your ender chest system you have a bunch of shulker boxes. So it's amazing how much vanilla can let you store stuff now. But this is the demonstration on how the filtration system works. Now, some of these I've already kind of preset. Like this one, I have a purple shulker box set on blacklist, so it will not go in here. Here I have a whitelist, and it currently doesn't necessarily have anything, but let's just put something on whitelist, this topaz gem. Now, these are ghost items. You just click on it and it does this. So the fact that I'm in creative doesn't mean anything. It ghost items it anyhow, so it'll know what it's supposed to. And this basically can filter as much as would normally fit in an entire chest. So it's an impressive amount of filtration. And you can whitelist or blacklist. But do note that's only one at a time. So yeah, but still, in terms of other things being filtered, this is very impressive. I have rarely seen any filter system in Minecraft for pipe work that is as intricate as this one in terms of how many slots you get and whether or not you can just choose between whitelist and blacklist as a function of the item rather than some kind of upgrade, because they usually do it on an upgrade level. One thing that's really cool about Ender utilities is that if it's not modular, it's probably already a built-in function. So let's throw a few items in here and see what happens. Again, remember, you can't put a shulker box in a shulker box normally, but you can, however, put it into a chest. So this is why I've got it blacklisted here for shulker boxes, but whitelisted for a topaz gem over here. So if I were to throw in a topaz gem and the shulker box, they'll wind up exactly where I told them to. Now, if it's not whitelisted or blacklisted specifically, it will just take everything, just like the regular inserters will. So, I just pipelined a few things this way. Well, this gets a topaz gem. And why? Because it doesn't know that it doesn't need to go here. It just doesn't know that it has anything specific about it. But remember, again, that it prioritizes any side that you've told is an output slot. So because I haven't specifically blacklisted it, it goes in here. So that's why it went there. Now here, I have a shulker box. And I have it whitelisted here for topaz gems. But just because this one came first and already had an output slide, that gets absolute priority. So after that, it then determines by what after that point is prioritized. So if you want to have like a general dump-off area, then you can just flood things into one area, and if it has anything blacklisted for that, like, oh, say you don't want to put cobblestone in that part of the line, but you want to put it somewhere else, just blacklist it at that point. It won't go in here, but it'll go that way. So this time I have that basically where it doesn't know it shouldn't be there. But let's change this again, shall we? Shulker box and topaz gem. Well, this time, let's say that I blacklist the gem. And let's say that I already have it whitelisted here. But let's do a little something interesting. Let's blacklist it for this. Now, remember you can also filter for output and input. Like right now I'm filtering only the output. Like if something goes into it, where does it go? But I could filter input, meaning it won't take an item from a chest either. Like for example, let me also do something here. Let's say that I have filtered the input and I blacklist that. Okay, well, let's see where down the line it would go. It has it blacklisted for here, in terms of output, so it won't go there. It has it blacklisted here, and also has the purple shulker box blacklisted, so let's see where things go, shall we? Aha! It has properly kept itself from taking this item. So, note that unlike the vanilla hopper or most other pipes, you can also just prevent something from going in the first place. So, yeah, that's kind of an awesome feature, but that only applies at this location. So, let's put this into the internal buffer. Need to go a little further down. And, zip, it's going down the line. I haven't said anything specific here. Remember that this one is filtered with output. So, where does it go? Well, it goes to the whatever spot it said it could. Because this one has, wait a moment. How did that get there? It's supposed to be blacklisted for output. Hey you, obey your blacklist. It was working before. Shouldn't have been able to output that. Okay, let me just... Okay, that goes this way. That's not there. Good. Okay, I just took it off blacklist and it immediately piped through. So let's blacklist that again. See where it goes. Making sure the blacklists are working again. Okay, that's blacklisted, so... Okay, blacklisting the output. Maybe I needed to reset it. Sometimes things are like that where they just need a quick reset. Why are you not doing output blacklist? Because that should not go in there. Again, this was working before. Okay. let's put something over here that's definitely going to be blacklisted. Let's blacklist a shulker box. This should be unable to apply by default because it's a shulker box. See, it's not in here. That's blacklisted. Doesn't have anything. It's blacklisted for output, but it's... Why is it doing it down the line in this location? Okay, well, let's try a whitelisting routine. Whitelist, output, just for funniness. Let's see if it'll actually try taking that there, because it's not supposed to. Okay, I'll whitelist that. So any of these should show up here, except the box can't go in the box, so it can go over here. I don't have... Let's say I don't have anything on the blacklist right now. Okay, now what should show up here is... Okay, that's going in the right spot. Whitelist seems to really prioritize on outputting pretty well. But the shulker box is over here because it could not go in here. So even though... by the way, if you have things whitelisted, they will be kind of restricted to those items going through, if at all possible, but if anything gets overloaded, it will put it where it can. But that's perfectly fine. I mean, it's a really great sorting system. So they work pretty well. And they are very fast, and as I've shown before, you can also just take a lot of items at a time if you'd like. And by the way, you can shift-click one way or the other to do it really fast. So that rule that applied with the whole volume thing before also applies there. Now, let's go over to another block that's really cool. That's very kinetic. It's the molecular exciter. This is a very unique block. And you will need 6 ender alloy of the enhanced variation, a bit of glass, an inactive ender core enhanced, so that's interesting in and of itself, and a piece of redstone dust. So it's actually decently expensive, and what it does though is kind of unique. You could kind of use this for traps and for unique events. I mean like really unique. Now note there's a facing on this block. There's a slight arrow here. Well, that's because there's actually an output of action side, I should say. And I mean that in very specific wording. Now note on this side there is nothing specific. But if I hit this button, something special happens. You see, right now... oh, I might want to... Might want to try something right now. This is the surviving block after a mob battle. Like, literally just in midair, like that whenever I got here, it was just hovering. And I'm thinking, why not try the power of this block on this? Like, if you wanted to remove a block in the fanciest way possible, this is pretty much kind of one of them in a way. Because whatever's at the end that this thing is pointing at, and whenever it's activated by a redstone signal, this happens. It just falls. It will turn any block that normally does not fall into a falling block immediately. And you can see this little symbol here. So if you're seeing this, that's pointed towards the direction of action. But it will turn any block immediately in front of it into a falling entity once. Like, let's just demonstrate the fact this only affects one block. But at the same time, I can do that over and over again until I build right up next to it. Oh, it was still active. Oh, that could be very fun and useful. So, I mean, if you wanted to just smack something really fast, that'd be a way to do it. But in terms of other use, you could theoretically have a piston design that was, oh, say, generating endless blocks like cobblestone and just pushing them in front of this thing while it activated. So you could make it literally just rain cobblestone or smooth stone onto something. Now the thing about it is whenever a block breaks on top of certain things, it tends to turn into an item entity. So let's do an old-fashioned one. At least I think this one still qualifies. Hmm. No. Is it stuck? Oh, it got stuck. It was eternally falling on the snow block. That's an interesting bug. Didn't see that one coming. It neither broke nor did it let itself turn. Okay. Well, actually, let me try a redstone torch, just because. It's like a regular torch, but not exactly. So, let's try this here. See if this works. Huh. This exact type of block gets stuck. It breaks the other block. Okay, so that's a different interaction. That's not exactly what I was thinking of. So let me get this out of the way and try another regular block. Something more established. Yeah, let's just try a vanilla block. Doing that with a modded block right at first may not have been the wisest idea. Wait a moment. Maybe it doesn't use the same falling code. Huh. I was gonna do that really cool, but it's not... Okay, let me just... okay, let's try a totally regular vanilla block known for... well, first of all, let me put this here. And then I will drop some sand as normal. Just to see if this is doing something weird. Okay, that breaks normally. Okay, the molecular exciter is more exciting than I first thought. It makes the block settles on... Oh, okay, I pushed it. I pushed the block. It was eternally stuck on this. I pushed it, and it went off to the side and settled. Oh, that's neat in and of itself. So if you were to get it to fall on something that normally would break a falling block into its item form, it gets stuck, but then you can push it out of the way because it still counts as an entity. And then it'll just land wherever it settles. So that's actually pretty cool bug. I'd actually kind of call that a feature. That's pretty cool. I actually kind of like that. Okay, well, I'm going to move on to another block. Well, actually, it's a pair of them, actually. But at the same time, I'm going to do mainly with this block version over here because it's a little more exciting. It's like the other one, only kind of better in a lot of ways. Although, admittedly, there's something special about them that's different. Now, these are drawbridges. Drawbridges and advanced drawbridges take a bit of resources. The regular drawbridge takes 6 interalloy advanced, redstone dust, and a couple of sticky pistons to make. The advanced version takes 6 of the interalloy advanced, a couple of sticky pistons, but a redstone comparator. Now the big difference between these two is a couple of very important things, and it says on the lore of either one of them. So if I go onto drawbridge, it'll say that the max length is 64 for normal and 32 for advanced. Now, what that means is it will literally take an internal inventory, and it will actually externalize it in-world into a line of blocks. It is a literal drawbridge. However, I find it's better to illustrate how this works when it's pointed straight up. So, yeah. As it says, you can also camouflage it like you could some before. So if you have an empty hand and a block you'd like to install into it in your offhand, you can do that. Now, the main thing this is really meant to do is to create a line of blocks that just... no, I don't want that option. It's not letting me undo that option. Well, anyhow, this oh wait, I have to turn up the length. Okay, there we go. This has some interesting internal controls. You can delay action between things that it does, and you can change the length of the drawbridge in terms of number of blocks. You can also change whenever it's powered. So normal use is oh wait, wrong thing. Normal use is extend when powered. You can also have it retract when powered, and you can also have it toggle on a pulse, which is kind of an interesting idea there. But I'm going to show its usual state here. Now, note that in terms of its internal inventory, it will only be as much as the length says. So let me pump that length up a bit to demonstrate this a little bit better. There we go. Now, I might have to fiddle around with the delay a bit to get this to work right. But I'm going to be demonstrating this interestingly. See that? Now, if I were to pop the delay up a little bit, it might take a little bit more time to put each block down, but then because the redstone signal goes to retract, because it is depowered, because I have this currently set to extend while powered, then what'll happen is that it'll kind of go a bit of a distance, but as soon as the power's off, it'll start sucking the blocks back in, which is interesting. So let's do this as toggle. See, now it has risen all those blocks that it could, because I've toggled it to extend, and now I've toggled it to retract. So the toggle feature is actually particularly nice to use. And you can see that if you're trying to change the delay and stuff, it can change just how long of a time you have before the blocks are retracted from it. Now, this, and you can also see why it's a drawbridge, because if you were doing that horizontally, you would literally like make that cross a moat or a big empty space or something, and then you'd be able to take the blocks back. So it's good for kind of defending your base and keeping mobs away, because otherwise they'd be dropping down into a chasm. So it's always nice, is it? Or maybe a lava moat. Lava moats are nice. Of course, if you want to be really fun and fancy, you could do slime blocks and just watch the mobs bounce up and then hit them whenever they're on their way up. That'd be a fun use. Now, this advanced model can do very similar things. However, it has some interesting, fancy extra functions. And this is why it has a limit of 32, because it has several types of really cool things it can do. Now, while this one can literally absorb blocks from the world as a thing that it does, meaning it'll take them from in front of it, this one absorbs block states from the world, and I'll show what that means later. First, I will demonstrate some very special properties. Let's 3. Okay, let's put in an ender elevator. 2, 3. Okay, let's put in a molecular exciter. 1, 2, 3, and let's put in. I wouldn't put in another drawbridge because that's something with a tile. But anyhow, you can actually determine the placement exact orientation for whenever you do this. So let's put it on toggle on pulse like I had before, and the length is going as much as it can. So, aha! Now, remember my pattern I was putting in there was counting 1, 2, 3 something? 1, 2, 3 something? Well, that was very much on purpose, just to track exactly at what point these work in. Also note this is orientated a little special. Now, you can see it can take any a solid block, pretty much, that you can imagine, especially ones that aren't tile entity types that store things, and perhaps even then, like, let's toggle that back. And now I'm going to put in a chest, just to see if it can do it. Just to see if it can do it. I got to put a chest on top. It puts a chest on top. Now what happens if I have an item in there? Okay. Is the button inside? The button is inside. That's beautiful. Okay. I take that back. It can take things with MPT. Darn lips. Can take it with NBT data. I just had a dental operation. Maybe I'm not quite as perfectly recharged as I thought, but I'm trying. But yeah. So that's interesting. It can actually suck up a block with NBT data. Wait a moment. I mean, could it? Nah. Would it be able to take something like that? Of course, I'm in creative mode right now, so some things might be enhanced. But, I mean, theoretically, could I eat a mob spawner with this thing? I mean, could I take that up and use this to move it around as an item? Okay, I have to figure out if this thing has a cheat mode version right now. I mean, can I... No, I can't do that. I don't have this in cheat mode, so I almost never do anyhow, so just thinking of doing this right now, it's kind of... Wait a moment. Okay, here's an interesting thought. Could I, Okay. Let's... Well, okay, this is a Naga spawner. They have alternatives, but just how powerful is this block? Like, if I wanted to guard this chest... wait, this might not be a good idea. I might want to do that last because they're very destructive and they tend to show up by proximity. So, that might not be a good idea. Then again, it is the last block I'm doing for this. What am I thinking? I mean, I did the filters. I did the teleporter update on terms of what I've learned about that, and I've done the molecular exciter, the drawbridges. You know, this would be an interesting finale. It really would be. Now, but at the same time, there's also something else cool this can do, so I might want to show that before I do this. So let me do this again with advanced drawbridge. Okay, so then I'll have this here, and let's say wait, did I take up the wrong thing? Yeah, I needed a molecular exciter to show this, because it's kind of a orientation thing. Okay, watch this orientation right now. It's pointed to the right. That is very important. So, this is take block states from the world. I click on that, it literally just ate that block. Now, it has all the position information as to how it was facing. So, there we go. For some reason it wasn't toggling the same. I need to reset that. Huh. Doesn't want to do things that it's memorized the facing of whenever it's on toggle. Can I do that one? Retract when powered? Okay. Huh. It's not deploying that way, but it'll take. Okay. That's an interesting bug. Unless there's something up with that I missed. Okay, time for the big finale. Because I'm just so curious about whether or not this will work. So, first... Yep. That happens. It will take that all the way. I have to kill a Naga. Oh wait. What am I doing? That didn't work on it? Oh, oops. This Naga is bugged. I accidentally did something that it wasn't supposed to do. Oh, that's classic. I need like a regular weapon to do this or something. So let me get rid. I was casually experimenting and this happened. So let me. Yeah, this Naga's invincible. Okay, so if you have a spawner that you deploy this way, whether it's aided or not, it comes out invincible. That's new. Let me see if I can even get rid of this by changing it to peaceful. I can, and it changes the spawner back to its regular state and the exact position too. Okay, I thought it would have wound up exactly where he was. Because this is a little thing about the Twilight Forest you can do, is you can actually make it where whenever you turn it to peaceful, you revert the monsters to their spawner state, assuming they were a boss. So let me just special note: it won't eat a spawner. Okay. Tested, you cannot absorb a spawner with this block, although you can absorb everything else in its direct path, including chests that contain items. Although it's weird, it doesn't specifically note it on there as plus in BT data, which it will in vanilla if you do that special copy function. So that might just be a little enhancement of just saying that plus in BT applies whenever you have that, in like a little note on the block of anything that's absorbed that way, like a chest or something. So just a thought. It just seems like it'd be more appropriate. Okay, that was interesting. Interesting situation. Okay, well, this has showed off the kinetic blocks. There is something very special I need to show off with Ender utilities, but I'm going to have to take some serious notes. Well, there's another thing that's been added since, but it's kind of not useful in single player. And why I say that is it has to do with pets. Basically, allows transferring ownership of tameable mobs, and the owner must right-click the mob to sign the contract. Another player can then claim ownership of that mob by right-clicking with the signed contract. See, that sounds useful, but it's only useful for multiplayer, so I can't demonstrate that, so you could just kind of see there. And it's pretty simple because you need an Ender infused stick, something black, something that counts is black dye, and a piece of paper. But this is something that I can't really show in single player, so even though I'm demonstrating the mod, I can't really show that part, at least not right now. I mean, if I'm on a big server or something, again, where we're doing Ender utilities, that could happen. But until then, I can't really show that one off. But I have shown off these blocks, including drawbridge, the advanced drawbridge, the molecular exciter over there. I've shown off these inserters, which act as a piping system that can be filtered and works pretty well, although I still have no idea why things kept showing up in the last block when they were supposed to be blacklisted. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the whitelist works beautifully, no matter what. So if you really want to just do it by priority system, that just works. And otherwise, I think I've shown things off pretty well for this segment, and even had quite an interesting discovery about the Naga. So, yeah, that was new. Yeah, well, until later, I guess. This has been Glitch Reaper. Hope to hear from you all later. I'll be logging off for now, so bye for now, everybody.